welcome to the Movie Bears podcast. I'm Brad Harris, and each week I'm joined by some of my favorite husky, hairy, huggable homos, the original 4H's, for discussions centering around movies that are either current or classic. This week we're coming at you with something that's kind of classic, but also very current. We are going to be discussing Halloween Ends, the newest and last question mark entry in the Halloween franchise. Definitely jazzed to get into that conversation. Want to hear what my fabulous co-hosts have to say about this film and their thoughts. Would also love to hear from you, our listeners, what you thought about this film. So definitely feel free to jump into the live chat or the comments if you are listening after we've recorded this in October of 2022. Let us know what you thought. But let me introduce you to those co-hosts that I just mentioned a moment ago. Couldn't do the show without them. Jim Pugliafico is here with us this week. Hey, babe, how's it going?
I am here. It's going good, and looking forward to discussing the end of Halloween or something.
Indeed. Well, welcome. Glad to have you here. William Lindis is also here. Welcome, Will. How are you?
Hey, I'm doing great. Although I don't like all of this end of Halloween talk. It's still spooky season for me, so I don't care what the movie's called. We've still got another few weeks of being spooky and ooky and filling our hearts with scary, creepy movies. So yeah, excited for this review, but still plenty of Halloween.
The turkey, pumpkin pie, all that stuff.
Yeah. Spooky season essentially runs from September 1st until August 30th. So we have August 31st, no spooky allowed.
Well, definitely looking forward to more of Halloween here as well. Always been one of my favorite holidays. McDonald's is giving out the Halloween buckets again. I don't know if you guys have seen this. It has been all the rage on social media the last couple days. Yeah. I need to get me a ghost pail.
Yeah.
Well, but what I'm reading about the ghost pails is that they cheaped out this year. People are upset about the ghost pails. That's what I'm hearing. At least that's what I'm reading.
Wait, first of all, one, people are upset on the internet, and two, what are they upset about? Like, what's I know this isn't the
I know
Halloween, like this isn't the McDonald's
I've never
podcast
seen people upset on the internet like I have here. Yeah.
But it could be the McDonald's Bears podcast, Will. Get ready. I'm going to introduce a new segment. Are you ready?
Yeah, 100%. Let's do it.
Welcome to McRib Watch 2022.
Yeah.
Okay. Hold up. I'm getting
That's what happens on that's what happens on August.
Oh my God. 31st. Startling news, everyone. I hate to break it to you, but the shake machine is indeed down. The shake machine is down.
The ice cream machine.
May God be with us all.
Oh, goodness. Well, it is so good to be back in the saddle with you guys. I know it's only been a week. Feels like longer for some weird reason. I don't know. But definitely jazzed to hear your guys' thoughts. Jim and I saw the movie together, but as usual, we kind of constrain our talk so that we can save it for the podcast. And Will, I have no idea, honestly, what you think about this movie. I haven't seen any of your social media posts about it. If you've made them, I haven't seen them. So I'm jazzed to get into this. I will say up front, we're going to talk about this movie spoiler-free for about 10 minutes. So if you haven't seen it yet, you're on the fence for some reason, we'll be happy to give you our thoughts and impressions on whether we think you should see it. But at the end of the day, only you can make that decision. And usually that decision in my mind is see it for yourself and see what you think. But that's up to you. Then after our 10 minutes of spoiler-free discussion, we'll give you plenty of heads up before we open things up to spoilers and dive into the main part of our review of Halloween Ends. So all of that said, Jim, Will, are we ready to do this thing?
Yeah.
Let's take a stab at it.
Evil dies tonight.
All right. Then here we go. Our review of Halloween Ends. All right. So, Will, I would say of the three of us on this show, you are probably the biggest horror aficionado of the podcast. So, it feels only fitting that you kick this discussion off for us, if you don't mind. What is Halloween Ends? And what were your thoughts? Is this worth seeing in theaters? Should you stream it on Peacock? Should you avoid it at all costs? Where did you come down?
All right. So Halloween Ends is the 13th film in the Halloween franchise.
Halloween the 13th?
Yeah, Halloween the 13th. Although
oh
it's actually only the fourth film in this particular timeline of the films. There's actually now 4 timelines that exist through these 13 films. So yeah, break out your flowcharts. So back in 1978, we had the original Halloween, which directed by John Carpenter, as he is, showing a young Jamie Lee Curtis being stalked on Halloween night by the Shape, Michael Myers. While the franchise has had a bunch of twists and turns on who Michael Myers is and him coming back and doing all of this stuff, this franchise picked back up again with its second film. Air quotes have to be seen here in 2018. Showing a very battle scarred Jamie Lee Curtis, who's trauma had impacted her daughter and her granddaughter. And of course, over that film, there was another film after that, Halloween Kills, and that brings us here to Halloween Ends. So hope you're with me so far. In this film, we follow not only the impact of Michael Myers on Jamie Lee Curtis and her granddaughter, but also the effect of Michael Myers and sort of the evil and fear and anxiety that he brings out in the people of Haddonfield. And see how that evil kind of creeps out into the community and causes people to be more suspicious of each other and to do things they maybe shouldn't normally do. There's a lot of choices in this movie. I appreciate a movie that makes a big swing. I think that this movie really tries to do something different thematically. Carrying over what it started in Halloween 2018, continuing on the themes that were really like the center of the paranoia at the heart of Halloween Kills. We get to see that come to its fruition here in Halloween Ends. I love that. I appreciate that a lot. I appreciate the way this was shot. I appreciate the way this looks. It's a good looking film. I love to see Jamie Lee Curtis. I just didn't like this film. That's the problem. I love them. I can't fault it for taking big swings. What I can fault it for is I feel like the execution of those big swings fell very, very short for me. I think it lost track of what it was trying to say and instead was a message movie that kind of ended up being about nothing at the end. There were some performances in here that were a little head scratching for me. Specifically one very prominent character, which I know we're going to be talking about a lot. A character had a lot of screen time and his performance just did not work for me. Even the kills.
Don't be ragging on Michael Myers like that.
Oh yeah. Well, gosh, it's hard to say that, even that part without spoiling. But
I know.
Yeah, but really, I don't know. Like the parts that worked were the parts that kind of touched the nostalgia buttons. But once I get past all of those, I don't know. It's not a very good movie. It just narratively, it just doesn't work really well at all. Even the kills, even if you just want to watch it from a kills perspective, I felt they were a little more boring than they've been in the past. So, should you watch this one? Sure. If you like Halloween movies, go watch this one. If you have access to Peacock, just check it out in your living room. Am I saying that you absolutely need to go see it because it's an enriching experience? No, I'm just saying hey, be a part of the conversation and go see it for yourself and make your own opinion. But yeah, just on its own merits, this could have been a pass for me. Womp womp.
All right. Will, I just have a quick follow-up question for you before we get to Jim. Was this one better or worse than the first two for you?
I thought Halloween 2018 was very good. I really liked the 2018 film. It felt it felt like it was trying to say something about generational trauma, and I think it said it in a very impactful way because those three main leads did a very good job of portraying it. It's about on par with the second one. I think the second film, Halloween Kills, also delved into the same message, and in doing so, I think it lost track of how it was saying what it was saying. It's like I want to give a movie points for saying something interesting, but I also have to like weigh like how they say it. And in this case, it was sloppy and boring for me. So that's a struggle. It sucks.
Fair enough. All right. We have a comment from one of our listeners, actually a couple of them. We'll read these real quick, and then Jim will get to you. Thanks for being patient. Lamar Harrison. Hey, Lamar. Good to see you. Says, I saw Halloween Ends, and I really enjoyed it very much. It was a really good movie. So some people out there definitely enjoying it. Lamar, good to hear from you.
Yeah. This is one of those films that's like it's hitting people on both ends of the spectrum, and that's cool. That's very cool. The thing that's not cool is I'm seeing a lot of people who are like, "You didn't like this movie? Fuck you for not liking this movie. This is a good movie." Or "You like this movie? Fuck you for liking this movie."
Movie sucks. Like, you don't know what
I didn't like it, but I love that other people did. Like that's always a good experience. Like it'd be boring if we all thought the same about film. So that's exciting, Lamar. Thank you.
Very, very true. Another comment here from Jay Jewel Roth. I've known Jay for a long time. Good to see you, Jay. Jay says, as a youngin' who never got to see Halloween in theaters, I was super lucky to see this in IMAX. I absolutely see how diverse this movie is and is going to continue to be. How divisive. But personally, I enjoyed what they did, even if certain plot points were super rushed. So I have a feeling, Jay, we're going to probably talk about a little of that when we get into our spoilery part of the review. Will, I see you nodding along. That may tie in a little bit to some of your feelings. But let's go to someone who has been super patient. Jim, thanks so much for waiting. What did you think of this film?
Yeah, I see what you're saying. I hear what you're saying. Some really good points about like maybe a movie that was trying to say some things that kind of fell short of actually saying them in any meaningful way. And yeah, I see that in this movie too. However, I did enjoy this movie a lot more than I was expecting to. I kind of went into this, again, I'm not going to spoil. I went into this movie expecting kind of more of the same that we've gotten in pretty much all of these movies. And I was surprised to see it give me something different that worked. And that alone worked for me. Even if the something different had me scratching my head a lot, like what the hell are they doing here with this character? Like, and what's really going on? And I swear also that I saw this movie maybe trying to do one thing that it kind of shied away from a little bit. Like it hinted at some things and then didn't go there, which I don't know if that was a way of subverting the audience's expectations. Certainly it built some expectations in me as the movie went along, and Brad will attest to that when we get into spoilers. Or if the movie just decided at some point, I don't know if we want to go there right now. But yeah, I enjoyed what this movie gave us. I think it followed through on its premise, on its overall premise. I think it did. And again, we'll talk about what that is and what it is in the spoilers. I think it did it with in a really good way. We talk about kills. Spoiler alert, minor spoiler alert, a Halloween movie has kills. This one is no exception. And I thought the kills here were at least as good as what we got in the first two movies. In this kind of, this wrap up trilogy, I guess, Blumhouse trilogy, whatever you want to call it. David Gordon Green, did he direct all of these? I forget.
Yes,
but yes, he did.
Or the David Gordon Green trilogy. But yeah, I really I walked out of this movie and I had a good time. I wasn't bored because I was trying to figure out what this movie was trying to do, and it was super weird. And I love that about this movie. Like they brought weirdness back into Halloween, and yeah, I was there for it. I liked it.
All right. Well, sounds like this was maybe a more positive experience for you, Jim, than it was for Will.
It was definitely
So,
positive for me. Yeah.
okay. Well, great. We've got two ends of the spectrum, and as so often happens on this show, and it's a good place to be, I think I fall right in between you fellas.
Somebody ends
Um,
up being the lucky Pierre.
I think I'm kind of middle of the road where this movie is concerned. Wi- Will, I think you and I will probably have some similar thoughts on a few things when we get into spoilers, and I'm looking forward to talking about those. But Jim, I agree with you. I think overall, I enjoyed this movie. I appreciated what it was trying to do, although it feels weird to take such a big left turn in the third movie of a trilogy. It's like they were trying to
Mm.
like reinvent and do some different things
And they
and
ran out of time.
do credit, for like you mentioned, Will, taking those big swings, but like I don't know if it was the right time to do some of those things. Maybe some things could have been introduced in the first or the second movie and then pay off in this third movie. It's a little weird. Jim, it sounds like maybe that weirdness was something you were more positive on
Mhm.
than I am, and I'm looking forward to hearing your thoughts about that as well. But I would say, as Halloween movie franchises go, this is not the worst, not the best, just kind of somewhere in the middle. Um, I did like seeing Jamie Lee Curtis and Michael Myers coming um, head to head, loggerheads, whatever you want to call it. Again, it's in the trailer, so that's
Yeah.
not a spoiler. J. Jewel Roth in the chat says it was better than Rob Zombies. It's interesting that you mentioned that, Jay, because I've been following the Reddit thread for this movie,
Oh
and
God.
you mentioned earlier that it was divisive. Holy crap! It's insane how divisive this movie really is. But I think most people agree it's better than the Zombie. Wow,
Ram
Brad.
Zombie.
Rob Zombie films. I have a confession to make. I actually haven't seen the Rob Zombie films, so I can't make a statement as to whether this one was better or worse. But I kind of want to check them out now just to compare. But I enjoyed this movie. Had some issues with it, of course, but I think that this is fun to see out in theaters, especially because it is spooky season right now. So if you're looking for a scary movie to go see, this one certainly provides some suspense, some thrills, some chills. It's all there. Definitely, I think it's worth checking out. Interesting that this one is on Peacock concurrently with it being in theaters. I haven't looked at Box Office Mojo to see this podcast episode brought to you by Box Office Mojo. Just kidding. To see how much money this movie has made, but I'm hoping that it's doing well in theaters. I've seen on social media that a lot of people are going out to see this at the theater rather than watching it at home. But that depends on your level of comfort, with going out into the world
Being
and being in movie theaters. So to sum up my thoughts, yes, it's worth watching, whether that be in a movie theater or streaming, your choice, whatever you're comfortable with. But it did leave me a little bit wanting. So there you
Yeah,
go.
and to your comment about seeing it in a theater versus seeing it at home and effect on the box office, that's a whole nother discussion. But I mean, we obviously are in the mindset of being okay with going to movie theaters at this point in time. I know a lot of people are not, and that's okay too. Uh,
Absolutely.
Certainly find whatever your comfort level and kind of risk level that you want to take is. But horror is one of those genres that I just generally tend to respond to more in a movie theater setting, one way or another. I can't think of an instance where I've watched a horror movie at home and had what I feel is like the full impact of that film. It's just a thing for me, I guess, and just a way I kind of take in this form of
Mm.
entertainment. Will, you being a horror fan,
Yeah.
you may have different experiences. Maybe there are some horror films that you've had just as impactful, an experience with on a streaming platform at home, watching TV in the living room. Um, versus in the movie theater. I don't know, but for me, the movie theater experience just always seems to add a little bit more to the horror genre for me.
Horror, more so than a lot of genres of film, really requires you to be locked in, right?
Right.
Because a good horror film, it's not just delivering scares. What it's doing is it's dancing on your nerves to whatever tempo that particular horror movie is doing at whatever intensity it's doing through the course of the film. It's like, okay, I'm getting you on edge, I'm getting you on edge, scare, getting you on edge, getting you on edge, scare. And so you can't do that when you're like looking at your phone and you got the kids and you can't do it the same way that you can. You can you can watch whatever wherever. But so I think that's why seeing something theatrically like this lets you be locked in. You don't have those distractions. That said, if you can, at your home theater, like turn off all the lights, put your phone in the other room, and just really say, okay, I'm going to stay up late tonight and do this. You can still have that really good horror experience, but you just have to force yourself to get locked in as opposed to letting the theater lock you in, if that makes sense.
Well, and that's such a challenge, I think, when you're watching something at home. Even when we watch movies in our projector room,
the phone is always there.
Okay, we're going to put phones away. We're going to pay attention to the movie. It's going to be fine. But then I find myself, if my phone is within reach, when I get to a part that is slower or quieter, I will just reach out and grab my phone and start browsing. And that, it pulls me out of the movie.
Mm-hmm.
I look at horror movies like roller coaster rides. If you're going to ride a roller coaster, you're not going to have your phone out. Once the ride starts, you're not talking to the people next to you. You are focused on screaming and what you're feeling, and you're at the mercy of whatever that coaster is going to do to you. And that's how films like this one, I think, operate. So absolutely agree. If you can see this distraction free, if at all possible, it's going to enhance your viewing of it. But that said, I also know that people have children.
Mm-hmm.
They can't always, mitigate
Right.
having to check on their kids in the other room, because this obviously isn't a for kids movie. But just enjoy it the best way you can, I guess.
And the movie theater is an expensive night out. You know what I mean?
It's also true.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, cost effectiveness wise, watching movies on your favorite streaming platform or however you get them is often a more, it's just a more cost effective way sometimes, and people need to do that. Yeah.
Speaking of spending money at the movies, Jay did a little bit of research for us while we were talking, and this obviously doesn't include.
You're hired, Jay.
Jay, will you be our Movie Bears podcast intern?
Statistician intern.
You can help us with social media. You can help with stats, all kinds of fun stuff. But Jay looked this up for us, and it made $41 million for its opening weekend. So Jay says he'll be the guy in the chair. Heck yeah. Don't tempt us, Jay, because we might take you up on that. But $41 million opening weekend, that's pretty good. Considering COVID times.
It's good. That's exactly I think we always have to the last couple of years we have to put asterisks next to any of those discussions. Like this one underperformed compared to the previous two Halloweens, and maybe even underperformed a little compared to some of the expectations of what they had going into it, but it's still
by a little, not by a lot.
By a little and not by a lot, and it doesn't factor in the fact that there are people that did watch it in Peacock, and there are people who horror seems to have slightly longer legs when it comes to theatrical weeks anyways. Right now, Smile, which came out 3 weeks ago, is killing it. It's made over 70 million for its budget, over the course of the last 3 weekends. So I imagine that number is going to go up going into the next weekend, especially as people are looking let's be honest, starting next weekend is when people are going to start scheduling their Halloween parties and start thinking about kind of that run up to Halloween. So movies that specifically have the word Halloween in the title are going to be a big draw going into that. So I'd be interested to see what those numbers look like over the course of its entire run.
Well, and because this is streaming, I've also heard from people that they're sitting on this one until, wait for it, Halloween. They want to watch it Halloween night to celebrate the holiday.
Yeah.
So I'd be really curious what the Peacock streaming numbers are now. I don't know if we have any way of telling that, and what they are, after the Halloween holiday. Would be interesting to know. What, Jim?
I have something to say. I can't say what's coming to my
Well,
mind that's funny right now, but I will in spoilers.
we'll get to it.
Oh, okay, okay. Well, honestly, I think we're kind of at a good point to jump into
Mhm.
spoilers if you guys are ready.
Yeah, we've said our piece. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Jim, are
So
you on board?
we ran the whole gamut from
We did.
really liked, really didn't like to kind of liked.
Kind of.
Right?
Yeah. I mean, two sides of the spectrum with me in the middle. So
Yeah, got it.
yeah.
We've
All right.
invited Brad to Jim and I have invited Brad to join us at the Eiffel Tower. Sorry.
Nice. That's all right. All right. So we're going to go ahead and move on to the spoiler part of our movie review. If you have not seen Halloween Ends yet and you don't want to be spoiled about the plot of this film, A, that's completely understandable. B, hopefully hanging out with us while we gave some spoiler-free thoughts was helpful or interesting. But C, now is your time to either, one, step away if you're listening live and come on back in about 15 minutes for plugs. Or two, if you're listening through the magic of digital tape delay on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, etc., skip ahead to plugs using the time index in the show notes and basically treat this podcast like a choose your own adventure novel. All of that said, I have awkwardly rambled enough. Spoilers are officially fair game. If you continue to listen, you do so at your own peril. Jim, what were you going to say that you couldn't say in the spoiler-free section?
Well, I was gonna say that you were saying that a lot of people were waiting till like the day or the weekend of Halloween to go see a Halloween movie, and I said, well, imagine their surprise when on Halloween they're ending up watching what is at least partly a teen romance drama. No, but I mean, yeah, this movie, like I said, had a lot of surprises for us. And the biggest one, I think the community, both critics and fans, are very divided, as we said. And I think it all comes down to expectations, right? And that may be partly to blame on the marketing for this movie. I'm not sure. If you look at the trailers, going into the last Halloween movie with this buildup between Laurie and Michael Myers throughout the years, and you're now building to a climax where Halloween ends, evil ends tonight, blah 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 blah. You may be expecting a 90-minute to 2-hour just like battle between those two badasses, right? Until something gives at the end. And yeah, we did get that at the end, but man, we didn't get it till about maybe 20, 25 minutes to the end. We got something kind of a whole left turn, as I think as one of you guys said early on in this movie, almost trying to set up something totally different. And I think for fans, I could totally see fans or critics or whatever halfway through this movie going, what the fuck is going on? Where is my Michael Myers? And, my body count is too low at the halfway point of this movie. What the fuck is going on? But yeah, I can understand that. But I think what they were trying to say in this movie was working on me. And I want to get in more of that later, but I'm going to let you guys talk about kind of what you saw in spoilers.
I think for me, I was really confused because we had Halloween 2018, and then Halloween Kills picks up on that same night, right? And so you guys know me; I try not to read anything about movies before I go in. And I guess this was announced right after Halloween Kills came out, but I never saw it, that the movie was going to have a 4-year time jump, 3-year time jump, whatever it was. So I had no idea that was going to be the case. I thought this movie would pick right up where the last one left off. But no, it's been 4 years, and Laurie has moved on, and she bought a nice pretty house, and they're playing house with the granddaughter, and I'm just like, what the fuck? Huh? And then it takes an hour, a freaking hour, to get to the point where like Michael Myers is showing up again, and he's doing this weird like, work intern partnership thing with Rowan Campbell's Corey Cunningham character, which is the left turn that I was talking about, like introducing this new creepy kid who apparently wants to be a serial killer. I don't know. It was just it was a really big barrier to entry, I think, for me into this movie. Having to like catch up on the last 4 years and then spend all this time on this new character and the romance with the granddaughter who I never really gave a shit about in the earlier two films. I really had a hard time getting into it. I won't lie.
So for me, it's not that there was too much or not enough or whatever on Michael Myers. I think there are some people that have that opinion, and that's fine, right? Like, there are some people that were expecting sort of like a slugfest at the end of this one, and that, that's totally fine given the marketing, right? Like the marketing really set this up. Like even the posters, like, Michael Myers versus like Jimmy Lee Curtis, like boxing match, like it's this whole thing. For me though, I feel like it didn't commit to what it was saying, right? Because what we ended up with, like, if you had just not put Michael Myers in this movie at all and really played into the idea of like, yeah, at this point, like that evil has seeped into all of Haddonfield and had made people just a worse version of themselves. And we see it through this Corey version, and maybe we see it through some other things as well. And we see that play out thematically to something that builds up into something. I would have appreciated the hell out of that. May have even liked the hell out of it too, it's because at that point it's taking that weird left turn and then going with it. But instead it feels like they chickened out to me. Like they went that route, but then they said, yeah, but we need to put Michael Myers here at the end too. And so they tapered off of the things that they were doing to put in a lessened version of what some people were wanting. So I think what they ended up doing was they put two probably really interesting ideas and watered them both down so that they could jut up against one another. It also didn't help that I didn't like the performance from Corey. I don't, the Corey character, and I don't know that it's the actor. I think that his character has to make some pretty dramatic leaps in terms of like, what his personality does through the course
From
of this
neighborhood
movie.
kid to serial killer.
Yeah. And I think it does so in a way that like doesn't leave the actor a lot of room to do it like organically. I think he just has to jump into like the serial killer pool. I will say the opening scene is really fucking badass. Like the opening scene is really, really good. And it
like
really
Home Alone,
had me
Michael
like,
Myers style.
Well, it basically was like, to set up that opening scene. It was, this Corey character the year after the last set of films. So this is 2019. He's babysitting some kid who's like pissing the bed and like terrified of Michael Myers, who killed a bunch of people. Yeah, and he ends up like locking the character, like the Corey character, the babysitter. I froze up. There we go. He ends up locking the Corey character into a like an attic area, and when he pushes his way out, he sends the kid over the banister to his death. It built tension, it built character, it built personality. It ended with like a scare. It felt like a little short film within this film. I was set up for excitement there, and then it just, I don't know. The movie just did not commit to the things that it was doing from there. I hated the granddaughter in this one too, which sucks because I liked her in the last two films. I don't know, man. So earlier, J. Joel Roth said something about super rushed. This could have been 4 movies to me instead of 3. I think you could have done a movie about the Corey stuff, and you could have done a movie about the final showdown of Michael Myers stuff, whatever it happens to be, and let both of those ideas really expand into themselves in whatever form that is, and it would have felt better for me. So that's what I was missing. I was missing.
This would have been a hell of a first movie, actually.
Yeah.
That's exactly what I was thinking earlier, was that like if you're gonna have this like, workmanship apprentice thing between Corey and Michael Myers, that could be really interesting to see play out over the course of a trilogy, right? Maybe even with like Michael Myers dying, but Corey having escaped with his mask or something and becoming the new Michael Myers. If they wanted to continue the franchise, right? But instead, we get this new character in the third movie. We're trying to spend all this time in the third movie to build up this character. We've got to throw in some kind of link between the new character and one of the characters from the previous films, and that's got to be established and built out. So it's almost like this movie has to do 2 hours of table setting before you can sit down and eat. And just standing there watching the table being set, I don't know, wasn't as interesting as it could have been.
Yeah. And I mentioned this to Brad as we were watching the movie. I'm like, I think I know where this movie's going. Like, I know where it's going and where it was going for me, and I'm surprised it didn't go there. I'm still not sure if I'm disappointed it didn't go there or I'm happy it didn't go there, because it is kind of a well-worn trope of these kind of movies, is that Corey, he didn't. I don't think he lived with his. I think he lived with his mother and like a stepdad. Is that right?
I think it was his uncle.
His uncle. His father was nowhere to be found. So my thought was, oh, something happened when Michael was locked up. Either one of the female hospital workers maybe had him drugged and raped him or something and got pregnant with his child, and he was the not love child, but he was a lust child of Michael Myers, and maybe Michael Myers kind of had this connection to him and kind of knew it was him, and maybe that's why Michael didn't kill him when he saw him, and that could be like the continuation, and that's also the reason why Corey, who started out as a good kid, was so maybe easily turned into like this evil character. I thought that would have been interesting, even though we've seen it before. So I was surprised that the movie didn't go that way. Did you guys get any of that vibe at all? Because I was expecting the mother to just come out at some point, when he confronted the mother and saying, "Yeah, you were born. I did it with Michael, and I, whatever." It would have been awesome.
That would have been a soap opera, Jim.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know. I mean, I tell you, the movie seemed to hint at it an awful lot, especially when in the scenes when Corey and Michael were together. For Corey not to like kill him, he either recognized something in him, whether it was his own blood or he was just another evil character like himself.
Well, I think it's they don't necessarily say this a whole lot in this film, but they kind of set it up in the last one, like the reason that Michael Myers liked looking out that one specific window was not because he liked looking out the window, but because that he could see that very specific reflection of himself, and he could see sort of like the thing that's empty in himself or whatever it is. And I think that's what he saw in Corey. Like he was just like, oh, this dude's like me.
Yeah.
So I think that's I wish that I had the it sounds like you had some like fun emotional whiplash watching this one with like
the
family drama stuff. I wish I had that too, because that's actually sounds like a fun way to ride that roller coaster.
Yeah, like I said, it might have been fun for me to like have that come true, but on the other hand, I don't think it would have made as good of a movie, to be honest. It might have even satisfied some of the fans who were looking for a continuation of this story, because so here's the biggest spoiler in the end. We do see the demise of Michael Myers, the Shape, I believe, at the end of this movie.
Yep.
I think they did it in the most definitive and conclusive way they probably could, and I really dug that the movie like said, okay, we've fucked around with you long enough through the years of killing, quote unquote, Michael Myers, only to have him, pop up again and start killing again, that we're going to let you have this last sequence to really kind of, put him away into oblivion. Right. And the movie did it, I thought, in fairly convincing fashion, while also giving nod to the whole premise of like how evil had taken over the town. And all the people again came together in this movie to participate in and witness the ending of Michael Myers finally.
But here's, I guess, my issue with it. I think within the confines of the franchise and the film itself, I think it was a cool scene, right? But I still don't know what this movie is really trying to say. And maybe you guys can help me with this. I feel like in Halloween Kills, one of the underlying things was sort of about mob mentality bad. Like when we see that scene at the end of Halloween Kills where everyone's like, evil dies tonight and kicking the shit out of Michael Myers, the movie sort of makes it seem like, hey, this mob is just as bad as Michael Myers, which I took issue with in Halloween Kills, by the way. Like the fact that this dude is like a supernatural serial killer. Of course,
Right.
I think it's okay in this situation for the mob to try to stop him. But the movie did not look kindly on the citizens of Haddonfield when they were chasing him down here. So this movie then in turn has the mob come together and sacrifice this dude, which again, I'm okay with. Michael Myers, bad dude. But it feels like it's very similar to what happened in the last one, just the difference being Jamie Lee Curtis's character was present. But the two movies look at both of those scenes in very different lights. And I don't know why. That's my struggle.
Yeah, I think in the second movie, the Kills movie, where they all come together and they beat the shit out of Michael Myers. And first of all, they do a dumb thing about like definitively killing him, right? I mean, that's
so the new rule is throw him in the wood chipper, or
throw him in the car grinder, or whatever it is.
Yeah.
And then show him being crunched up to a bloody pulp. Which I mean, if there's I kind of take umbrage a little bit to that this movie didn't have good kills in it, because I think it had great kills in it. I will remember the kills in this movie better than I will from the Kills movie.
Really?
Mostly, I
Okay.
think. Yeah.
What was your most memorable kill from this movie?
Well, besides the Michael Myers kill,
Yeah.
I thought the DJ kill. I thought the DJ kill was pretty wild.
With the record skipping over the
record
tongue.
and the tongue,
Yeah.
the tongue going around, and the record skipping. And I thought the needle drop and needle drops throughout this movie I thought were good. So yeah, it was an ancillary character, so I don't know why. I don't put a lot of emphasis in that kill, but in terms of strictly like visceral entertainment, I thought that kill was really good.
Speaking of visceral, Jay mentioned in the chat that his favorite / most memorable kill was blowtorch to the mouth to the meathead bully that was plaguing Corey. That one was a crazy one as well.
I think the two from this franchise that jump out most to me is in the 2018 one, there's the kind of like the bathroom stall one where that one's just brutal. It's just visceral, like not because of like a gimmick, but it just
that's his first one after the escape, right?
And
right.
It is, it doesn't hold anything back. But there's a scene in the second one, which again, I wasn't a big fan of kills, but the one where there's the couple and he goes into the house and he basically uses the guy to sort of like test out the different knives, like that's that particular scene.
Is that the husband and wife couple or the
husband and wife couple? Oh, I did not like the gay couple in that one. I thought that was
right. That was dumb.
But no, the husband and wife couple where she's injured but still watching, and he's the husband's dead and he's just going to the knife rack and just kind of slowly going through each one. That's terrifying in an entirely different way. Like when I think about like if I were in that woman's perspective, that's terrifying.
Yeah, I was just gonna Jay just mentioned it, but I was gonna mention it too. It was awesome to see her show up in this movie with her little piece with the the scar on her neck, because that, even though it wasn't a kill, it was one of the more terrifying sequences, right, in that movie, where she was left alive, but obviously badly maimed and injured.
Yeah.
But
so we have a few minutes left in our discussion, and one thing I'd like to just throw out there for a conversation real quick is what do we all think of closure for Laurie at this point? She lived. She got to witness evil dying for real. What do you think?
I like the whole the twist, kind of the suicide twist that she played, the trick she played on it was Michael Myers, right? At the
No,
end
it's
where
Corey.
it was Corey. All right, it was Corey.
Yeah.
I like that because it was also, not only was it played on that character, but was played on the audience at the same time. I was convincingly tricked in that scene that maybe she had chosen this time to check out, because she has obviously been in some pain and been contemplating. There were seeds sown throughout the series that she was distraught over what had happened and the guilt that maybe she had with possibly causing the death of her daughter. Was that the second movie or the first one?
The end of the
second
one. Yeah.
In the second one. Yeah. But then to have that kind of flipped back around and that be that was kind of the intro to the climax of the film, right? She has her battle with Corey and then immediately after with Michael.
Right.
Which I thought that whole last sequence was really great. I have no complaints about. I thought the action was great. I thought the choreography of that action was really impactful because I think because we're all thinking like, okay, here it is. This is it. This is do or die time. She's either gonna take him out or the movie's gonna do something super weird, which nobody's gonna like. But the movie did follow through on its premise in that scene, and I liked it. I do understand. There are some complaints about, hey, how does a 22-year-old kid or whatever go into the sewer and start pushing Michael Myers around? I mean, who's got, I mean, that's, to me, that was less of an issue, right? I mean, because you got to think, right? Michael Myers is getting up there at this age, right? Like is he Michael supernatural? Is he just a man? We don't know.
This movie isn't interested in exploring his supernaturality.
No, it's
like
not.
The other two were.
I'm totally on board with not.
Yeah, I have no problem with that because look, this is he's an older man, like you said, and also he was severely injured at the end of Kills, right? So we don't know how the extent of like the healing from those injuries would be like, right?
He changed his name to Gene, and he worked in a Cinnabon for 4 years. And
that makes a lot of sense.
Then he moved into the sewer. Yeah.
But I did like that we got to see some closure for the Laurie Strode character. This movie did really flirt with. This movie really did flirt with her deciding whether or not she was going to check out or not, and I mean, and it was explicit, in her writings and all of that, and in the way that final scene played out. Was it satisfying overall? I mean, I think it's hard, right? Because this is a character I think who she's not responsible she's not responsible for her daughter's death in the second one. I think the thing that she's responsible for is for pushing her daughter away for all of those years, if that makes sense. And because that was the premise of the first film, was that they had such a strained relationship. And so I think that this is going to be closure, but with still like a tinge of regret, and I think that's okay for a horror movie survivor. So ultimately satisfying, and I think probably more satisfying for the audience because we got to see Michael get ground up and gone for good. I think the one that I struggle a little bit more with is I don't know if the granddaughter character, if her arc and her closure and all of that is going to be quite as satisfying. And again, it's not her trilogy, whatever, but at the same time, like she there was something that just felt like a little bit of like a letdown with kind of the role she played here.
Okay.
Yeah, Jay has a good point. As a mechanic through these movies, that both Michael and Corey, I think what he's getting at is both Michael and Corey seem to build strength, or dark strength, if you want, and resolve after each kill, right, that they make. And that's something that I really didn't pay much attention to. So it's a good point. And I've told myself I think at some point I will go back and rewatch these 3 movies back to back to back, so that I can kind of maybe get the full effect. Maybe, you know, maybe there's some things that'll pop out at me that the filmmakers had in mind, that kind of don't pop out at me when I'm viewing these, you know, a year or 2 years apart from each other.
What if you did a recut? There is a world where someone could recut these. I know we've been talking about like, oh, what if you watch them in this order? If you watch them in whatever order, I think you could recut these films in a way that would be ultimately, at least for me, more satisfying, right? Like, you know, we end up with all of the things that happened 40 years ago seep into the town and poison it. We get this like Corey copycat killer thing, but that falls short. But now Michael is back, and then it leads into this other, you know, like this other, ultimately the death of the daughter, which causes the Laurie Strode character to really like bunker down a little bit and prepare her granddaughter to kind of rid the evil, and in such a way that also, you know, unites the town in doing this too. There's a way to recut this film or recut this trilogy. Yeah, again, Jake said just right. The Halloween Snyder cut. I think that's what I need. Release the Halloween Snyder cut.
There seemed to be, yes, the supernatural killer element was still present, but I think it was less present in this film than it has been in the others. For me, anyway. It felt more like a real person, you know?
Well, it was just weird because the second movie especially makes such a big deal out of calling out that like every time Michael kills, he transcends and he's become this supernatural force and da 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 da.
But they don't know.
This movie maybe infers, right? But we also don't necessarily. Do we need that big like discussion about it to have it be a thing? I think you do. I think if you're trying to convince the audience that Michael Myers is a supernatural force, you need at least one line referencing it to remind people that that's your theory. That's what you think. That's what the movie's trying to say. I saw Jay's comment about like Corey's hand healing fast and not having to wear glasses. Love you to death, Jay, but I don't know that means some kind of supernatural abilities were passed from Michael into Corey. Corey is also very young. Young people heal very fast. I don't know what Corey's prescription was. Maybe he only needed glasses for reading. I have no idea. But like, if the movie wants us to believe that is what's going on, I need to hear from someone's mouth that is the theory. At least remind us that that's what you think is happening.
Directly or indirectly, right? You needs to be some inference about that. And
I'm going to go 180 on this because I think the proof is right here in this movie, right? So we've got the Michael Myers character is how old in this film? How old would you say he is? It's been 40 years. He was
somebody needs to do it. Somebody would know. I'm
He's
sure
60, 70. He's up there in years, right?
He's probably 70 years
At
old.
no point did I ever see Michael Myers like stand up and then just like randomly like hurt his knee or throw out his back.
Like, my back.
Through the act of just like active. Hey, look, I'm 40. And there's times when just the act of like, hey, I'm going to stand up right now. Nope, my leg hurts, because that's what fucking happens when you're over a certain
Now that's
age.
supernatural
The fact
powers,
that
right
that
there.
never happened, to Michael Myers once, he is a dark
proof
god.
of supernatural.
There you go. There you go.
Right there.
He doesn't have arthritis, so obviously he's a ghost killer. All right, fellas. Well, some really good conversation around Halloween Ends. Like it or love it, this is the movie that we got. This is the end of this trilogy. The director has stated this is the last one he's doing. Whether we get more Halloween movies from another director, whether it's a reboot, whether it's a copycat killer, we don't know if we're going to get more movies. But do you guys feel satisfied? Last question to close this conversation. Do you feel satisfied with the ending of this story?
I do. I feel this the ending of this movie at least was a really solid ending to the what I think is the franchise. Now, does that say that some other filmmaker isn't gonna try to revive it to make some money off of it? Absolutely not, because I think that's probably going to happen. I can see the scene right now. There's a graves. Jamie Lee Curtis has said she's not going to appear in anymore, but I can totally see a gravestone that says Laurie Strode on it sometime in the future. She died of natural causes, but for some reason her spirit lives on, and there's a Michael Myers ghost like standing there over her grave, like exalting that he won the battle.
Oh, Force Ghosts, cool.
Yeah. But yeah, I think this is a great ending. I wish it would stop here, but I don't know I don't have confidence that it will.
I don't know if I was satisfied with this ending, but I'm satisfied with this being the end, if that makes sense.
Okay.
Like, I could have liked a different ending, a different way to wrap this thing up overall, but I don't feel the need to kind of go back in here or do another one or like fix it in the fourth or whatever. Like, I feel like, this is well enough alone. I'm good.
All right.
Yeah.
And honorary intern / guy in the chair, Jay, says he also thought that this was a satisfying
What
ending to the
about
story.
you, Mr. Host?
Yeah, bro.
Oh, I'm supposed to be the one asking the questions, not answering them. Put me on the spot. I feel like the last 25 minutes of this movie gave a satisfying end. I feel like everything that came before that was not very satisfying. But at the end of the day, it's ultimately about what definitively happens, and this gave us the end of Michael Myers. It gave Laurie Strode a happy ending. I was glad to see Will Patton's character survive till the end of this trilogy. That man is a treasure. I love him and everything. I'm glad that Laurie is possibly going to have a relationship with him, and as Jay said earlier, get a happy ending seeing those cherry blossoms in Japan. So I'm good with it. I'm fine with it. What I don't want is to find out there's another Halloween movie in pre-production, like
Halloween Forever.
Oh my God!
I do know that
it's Halloween 5, Eva.
I remember hearing that Kills and Ends were filmed like currently, right? They were produced concurrently, like filmed and produced concurrently. So, and it was supposedly Ends was done really cheaply. I don't no idea what the budget was, but our statistician can probably find out.
For Halloween, for Furious.
Yeah, exactly. All right. Well, we're going to go ahead and wrap things up on our Halloween Ends discussion. We had some great comments in the chat. Thanks so much for those of you who chimed in. Jay, the guy in the chair, says the budget was $30 million. So there you go.
That's pretty damn good. Yeah.
Jay coming in hot tonight with the support skills. Love it.
Jay.
Thanks so much, Jay. You rock. Guys, let's move on to some plugs. The part of the show where we put things that we love, that we're interested in, on your radar. I don't know why I'm karate chopping the camera, but it's apparently a thing I'm doing. Now we're all doing Charlie's Angels poses. Let's start with Jim. Jim, have you got a plug this week?
I do have a plug this week, and it's a series that I'm pretty sure I've plugged before, but this is a repeat plug because a new season of this series has just come out. I mean, it's been around for a while, but it's just come out, been put on Netflix. So it can be binged, like we love to watch our Netflix series binged, right? So this is The Sinner. This is the series starring Bill Pullman as a detective. This is season 4 of The Sinner. It also stars Jessica Hecht, many others, but I'm really digging this series. Bill Pullman is so great as this kind of experienced, frazzled, haggled detective. He says he's retired in this one, and I've only seen the first episode in this season because he's supposed to be retired in this season, but I have a feeling they're going to pull him back out to to do some investigations. But it's called The Sinner. It's now available. Season 4 is now available on Netflix. I'd recommend, if you haven't seen it, start with season 1. It's fantastic. This series is produced by Jessica Biel, and which I've been super impressed. She was also a star. She also was one of the stars of the first season of this series. It's one of my kind of go-to series as far as like crime procedurals / mystery stuff, but it's really good, called The Sinner.
Quick question, Jim. For each season, is it like, is each season
it's
kind
its
of
own
an arc, or is it like episodic?
Each season is one arc, basically.
Okay.
one case, if you will. But those cases somehow splash over a little bit into, because they affect the character, they affect the main character.
Yeah.
So he carries those with him as he goes into a new season. But yeah.
All right, excellent. Well, Jim, thank you so much for that plug. Definitely appreciate that. Will, how about for you? What have you got this week?
I want to talk about the new film by Ruben Östlund. This is a guy who's made, he's had his third movie out right now called Triangle of Sadness. Actually, I think he's had a few more, but he's had 3 kind of major wins over the last several years. Force Majeure, The Square, and now Triangle of Sadness. This movie is really fucking fun. So it's a dark comedy with a little bit of like a, some like satire into it, and that like some of the characters don't behave 100% realistically, but that's the point. And it's this luxury vessel where Woody Harrelson is the captain, and you've got just all of these different people from different countries who are all just like stupid rich, just like, billionaire rich, on this vessel. But then things go wrong, and something happens to the boat, and the tides turn in terms of who has the sort of like the power dynamics there versus them versus the people that are like serving them on this boat. It's really funny. It's really interesting. The performances are great. It never goes exactly where you think it is. It's called Triangle of Sadness, and it is just, it is absolutely the goods. I love a good dark comedy, and this definitely is that.
Where can this be found anywhere on streaming, or is it only in theaters in like a limited way?
Theatrical right now. So check if it's playing near you, and if not, then just keep an eye out. This one has sort of like major backing, because it's this dude's first 2 films were both made it to Oscar nominations, or at least into the shortlist rounds. So this, in fact, the first one was remade with Julie Louis-Dreyfus and Will Ferrell, I think, a few years after, which I haven't seen the remake of Force Majeure, but no, but this one, Woody Harrelson's great in it. He's spoiler alert, Woody Harrelson is a funny guy who plays roles well. But it's a really good film. Keep an eye out for it theatrically, and if not, it'll be on streaming. Everything ends up on streaming eventually.
Yeah. Awesome.
All right. Awesome. Thank you for that, Will. For me this week, Jim and I watch a lot of bleak, depressing TV sometimes. We watch really good shows, but whether it's The Boys or 1883 or Handmaid's Tale, a lot of what we watch is just really good, but it really like brings you down. It really takes you to that dark place in your soul.
Yeah.
Potentially. But there's something we've been watching lately that is the light in our TV schedule. It brings warmth. It brings ooey gooey goodness. It brings magic. This is a show that we were turned on to by our friend Kevin Godfrey. We'd heard of the Great British Baking Show, but had never actually watched it. And we ended up binging every season that was available over the last year. And the new season of the show just started coming out a couple weeks ago. So we have very much been enjoying the new episodes. It's only like 4 episodes in at this point. Every new episode comes out on Netflix on Friday. This isn't one of those shows that you have to have watched from like the beginning. Every season is its own self-contained competition. The basic idea, for those who are unfamiliar, is they bring in 12, 13 bakers at the beginning of the season. They put them through a series of baking challenges every episode, and then they crown a star baker, someone who is safe from being sent home and did the best that week. And then, of course, the person that they have to send home leaves the baking tent. I've learned a lot about baking just from watching this show. Jim has made some pretty great treats for us, getting inspired by this show.
Yes.
But it's especially great this year because there's obviously some really great bakers on it. But this show has always done a good job of inclusion. It's very diverse in terms of its casting. And it's great to have members of the LGBTQ plus community as part of the show. This year, one of the contestants from our community, Yanush, is on. And holy crap, not only is he super cute and adorable, but he bakes some of the most awesome things I have ever seen. It's really cool to see like his design of what he's going to bake or make on paper, and then kind of see how he translates that into reality, how everything kind of comes together. So it's been particularly interesting to watch Anush's journey this season of Great British Bake Off. If you like baking shows, if you like just having something on in the background that you don't necessarily have to pay super close attention to until reveal time comes, I don't think you can ask for a better show than this. So Great British Baking Show is available on Netflix. They have some of the past seasons available as well. Definitely be sure to check those out. I wish we could get access to the older seasons. Netflix got rid of like 6 seasons, guys. 6 of the old seasons you can no longer watch on Netflix. We didn't get to them before Netflix axed them, unfortunately. But I'm hoping someday we can find a way
They
to
might
watch
pop
those.
up somewhere. Yeah.
Maybe.
Hey, babe, there are so many of these cook-off kind of shows, right? Especially like on the Food Channel and stuff like that. And I've been in my head, I've been struggling a little bit with like trying to figure out what are the intangibles about this show or tangible things about this show that kind of make it stand like head and shoulders maybe above some of those other, hundreds of other cook-off elimination kind of shows. I'm trying. I can't. I can't figure out if it's the hosts. There's a lot of comedy thrown in with the hosts. We have Matt. Help me out with the names.
Matt Lucas.
Matt Lucas is one of the hosts, and Noel. I forget what Noel's name is, but he's also a famous UK personality who's funny. And the 2 judges, Paul and
Paul
Prue.
Hollywood.
Hollywood and Prue. I think that's part of it, but I just think the way they showcase the bakers and yeah, I don't know. It's hard to say, but I do know it has that, like, it definitely stands above the rest of them for me.
Yeah.
I don't watch a lot of them because they seem like all same to me, but this one seems to have something a little special about it.
I think part of it, for me at least, certainly the hosts are great. They're funny sometimes. Paul Hollywood and Prue are awesome. Paul is smoking hot. Oh my God, Paul Hollywood. I would so go there. But I think for me, it's the contestants themselves. It's how much of themselves they bring into their bakes. Like, a contestant would be like, "Oh, I'm making this special type of bread that I used to make with my mom when I was a kid, and my mom has passed away now, but she gave me the recipe, and I'm bringing it to the show, and I love learning about the people." But also the people themselves are insanely nice to each other. On other cooking shows, it's very much a competition. Everybody's racing around. It's very cutthroat, at least here in the United States. I don't know about overseas. But everybody is so helpful. Like everyone's rushing around, but if someone is like, "Oh my God, could you help me carry this?" or "Oh, it's falling apart," like 3 people will rush over and like offer emotional support and help that person out. Sometimes at the detriment of their own bakes, you know.
Right,
But it's just
right.
so great to see everybody support
Right.
each other like that. I haven't really seen that in other cooking shows, so
Yeah.
maybe that's part of it.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Could
Anyway,
be.
that's my plug for this
Good
week.
one.
Will, Jim, thanks so much for adding your voices to plugs. It's been a great show, a lot of phenomenal conversation, but the conversation doesn't have to stop here. Of course, we'll be back with you for our next recording. But if people want to chat between now and that next recording, let's tell them how they can get in touch with us. Jim, where can people find you online?
People can find me online, mostly at Twitter, where I talk about movies and a little bit of politics and other current event things. And my Twitter handle is right here, at JJP Out West. And you can also find me on Facebook under my name, Jim Pugliafico.
All right, excellent. Thank you. Will, how about you?
Yeah, I'm on Twitter and Instagram at whatever cove. You can find me on Facebook. Just look for William Lindis. Send me a message first. It's helpful to know where people add you from. I'm on Letterboxd. I review everything I watch. Just look for William Lindis there. Give me a follow. I'll follow you back. And I still occasionally do things on TikTok. Most of them shirtless, but not all. So just look for at the Movie Bear on TikTok.
All right, excellent. Thanks, Will. Appreciate that. Folks, you can find me on Facebook. Just look for Brad Harris. I'm the one that likely has Bear, Chub, or Chaser friends in common with you. You also can find me on Twitter, Letterboxd, at iBradPro. It has been a treat recording with you fellas this week. Jim, Will, thank you for a very fun show. Looking forward to the next time we get to do this. And thank you as well to everybody who tuned in live tonight, as well as everyone who tunes in during your daily commute, while you're on the Stairmaster, while you're cooking dinner, however and whenever you access the show. We're almost at the 10-year mark of doing this, but it is because of all of you, I think, that we continue to enjoy doing this as much as we do. So thank you so much for tuning in. If you ever get a chance to join us for a live recording, we'd love to hear from you live. Don't forget, you can always access those on YouTube and Facebook, as well as our past catalog through Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, etc. Thanks, everybody. We'll see you all next time. Goodbye.
Chipiso that Joe.
Bye-bye.